What happens when a pound-for-pound destroyer meets the sport's biggest marketing machine? The proposed matchup between Gervonta "Tank" Davis and Jake Paul has set off a wave of reactions that goes far beyond typical pre-fight banter. To some, it's a spectacle tailor-made for pay-per-view. To others, it's a mismatch that should never be sanctioned. And in the middle is a truth boxing has wrestled with for a decade: the tension between legacy fights and money fights, between competitive integrity and entertainment. Where do you stand on Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul? Is this crossover bout good for boxing or proof that spectacle has overtaken sport? Tell us where you're watching from and what kind of fights you want to see. Your comments may be featured in our next analysis. The press conference that set the tone. Gervonta Davis arrived at the first press event in a mood that surprised many. Known for his ice-cold demeanor and controlled menace, Tank scarcely reacted to Jake Paul's taunts. Veteran commentator Gareth A. Davies described a fighter who looked like he'd been dragged there against his will, comparing the scene to a football fan pulled into a shopping mall on match day. Davis said little, offered no theatrics, and barely engaged during the face-off. Paul, by contrast, played to his strengths: posture, provoke, and make every moment shareable. It didn't look like disinterest from Davis so much as calculation. Fighters who can end nights with a single punch rarely need to sell a fight with words. But the optics mattered. They helped reinforce a broader narrative being pushed by critics. Tank Davis is fighting a man 2 weight classes bigger because the money is too good to pass up. The size and safety problem everyone is talking about. No serious breakdown can skip the core issue. Gervonta Davis is a lightweight, a compact, explosive puncher who has operated between 130 and 140 pounds. Jake Paul is a cruiserweight who walks around near 200 pounds. In boxing, physics matter. The critics, including Ryan Garcia, have been unambiguous. They argue that a sanctioned fight between a natural lightweight and a natural cruiserweight is a bad idea, full stop. Not because Davis lacks skill, but because reach, mass, and the ability to absorb punishment are not academic. Garcia, who knows both men well, the social media universe that produced Jake Paul and the elite boxing world that created Gervonta Davis, called the fight a disgrace to boxing. He rejected the idea that casual viewers would appreciate the mismatch. He warned that if Tank didn't steamroll Jake in a couple of rounds, fans would draw the wrong conclusion and overrate Paul. It's tricking the public, Garcia said. He did not spare Davis either. We're not talking about the money. We're talking about the sport. The broader business. Legacy versus money. This is where Sean Porter, a former world champion who fought everyone in his era, weighed in with a veteran's clarity. For him, the matchup represents a shift in the sport's priorities. Porter said it out loud: money is increasingly winning out over legacy. That isn't a shot at Davis in isolation. It's a critique of a generation. Fighters aren't always chasing the most dangerous fights that cement greatness. They're chasing the biggest short-term paydays. Porter believes Tank is one of the most talented fighters alive, but he questions why that talent is being spent on sideshows instead of the kind of fights that turn greats into legends. You don't have to agree with Porter to understand the logic. Fighters today have options the previous generation didn't. Brand deals, social media, and streaming pay-per-view have widened the earning window. But the trade-off is real. Legacy is built on beating other great fighters in their primes. It doesn't come from beating influencers, however disciplined those influencers have become. The fan economy. Why this keeps happening? It would be easy to blame fighters and promoters alone. Several analysts pointed the finger at the rest of us. Their thesis is simple. When the boxing audience pirates the best fights, and when niche, high-skill matchups go underpurchased, the business tilts toward what sells quickly: crossover events and outsized personalities. You can't look at the numbers and dismiss the Jake Paul phenomenon. He fills arenas. He moves pay-per-view. He drives a young, engaged audience to boxing who often wouldn't know a unification from a mandatory challenger. If you're a promoter facing piracy, the sure-thing economics of a Jake Paul event are hard to resist. That doesn't absolve the industry from its responsibility to stage real, competitive fights. It's a reminder that the market rewards what fans buy. When fans buy spectacle, spectacle grows. When fans buy substance, substance grows. Right now, spectacle is winning. The technical breakdown: can Tank hurt a cruiser? Strip away the noise and the technical picture is fascinating. Tank Davis, at 135 pounds, is one of the most efficient punchers in the sport. He's not a high-volume guy. He's selective, accurate, and lethal. He sets traps, reads patterns, and detonates a fight-ending shot when an opponent makes a tiny mistake. That skill doesn't vanish if he fights a bigger man at a catchweight. But the physics change everything. Jake Paul has an honest jab, a heavy right hand, and enough conditioning to go rounds against middle-aged former MMA fighters. He's been training as a boxer daily for years. He has not fought elite boxers in their primes. He has never faced anyone with Tank's hand speed, eyes, and timing. He has, however, absorbed punches from men looming 70 pounds heavier than Tank. A clean Tank Davis left hand on anyone's jaw is an equalizer. But against a proven cruiserweight chin, the question isn't whether Tank can land. It's whether his power scales up enough to end it when he does. A seasoned analyst put it this way: in a 10-round fight, who shows wear and tear first? Tank has the skill to maneuver past a jab, split a guard, and land his best shot. Jake has the size to distort Tank's angles and smother counters with clinches. On paper, the matchup favors Tank in elite skill and speed, and Jake in raw mass and length. That's not entertainment. That's biomechanics. It's also why traditionalists don't want state commissions sanctioning it as a true professional bout. The legacy under scrutiny: Pitbull Cruz, Roach, and Perception. Showbiz the Adult, a commentator who speaks fluently in the language of perception, took the legacy critique further. He pointed to Isaac Pitbull Cruz, arguably Tank's toughest opponent to date, and to Lamont Roach's recent performance against Cruz. If Roach outperforms Pitbull or dominates him more clearly than Tank did, or even puts him away where Tank couldn't, it will become fuel for the Tank cherry picks narrative that already follows Davis. That may not be fair. Boxing is style matchups as much as hierarchy. But perception is reality in this sport. If your signature win looks weaker because another man does better against your signature opponent, your place in the pound-for-pound conversation can wobble whether you deserve it or not. That's the risk showbiz is highlighting. Fighting Jake Paul doesn't help that problem. It compounds it. Fans and historians will ask, why take an influencer fight instead of unifying at 135 or 140, or fighting Shakur Stevenson, or chasing Devin Haney, or rematching Pitbull Cruz? A contract controversy making it Messier. Lamont Roach added a business wrinkle that turned eyebrow-raising into jaw-dropping. He said Tank Davis had a signed contract to fight him, a rematch scenario that would have satisfied both money and legacy, only to go ghost and announce Jake Paul instead. Roach framed it as a breach, saying plainly that you can't ignore a binding agreement and expect smooth sailing. He acknowledged Tank's excellence while insisting there's a right way to navigate the business. Inform your counterpart, honor the deal, or explain why you can't. Roach said he found out about Tank's new fight much the way the rest of us did, with a string of false, "we'll announce next week" promises leading to a surprise reveal. If Roach is correct, Tank's team faces more than optics. Failing to honor a signed bout risks arbitration, legal action, or at least public relations fallout. It also gives critics a clean talking point. Legacy fights are being abandoned in real time for influencer paydays. The media debate: reach, power, and reality. Max Kellerman's role in the conversation has been to add perspective. He recognizes what many refuse to admit: Jake Paul sells. There is no current active fighter who can create a buzz the way Jake does without a marquee dance partner. That's why pros keep saying yes to his offers. It's not a referendum on his skill. It's a recognition of his platform. Kellerman and Paulie Malignaggi have also batted around the knockout question. Can Tank's power translate against a cruiser compared to a 135-pounder? They agree on the basics. Tank's explosiveness is elite among lightweights. They disagree on whether size nullifies that power enough to make the fight non-competitive. Malignaggi's historical comparison was blunt. If Tank is a true knockout artist, he should be knocking out the best of his weight class the way Felix Trinidad did in his prime, the way Mike Tyson did from 1986 to 1989. If he's not doing that consistently at 135, why test his power against 190 pounds? The response from Tank supporters is equally blunt. He knocks out almost everyone he fights in his class. He chooses his spots instead of throwing 1,000 punches, and when he lands, men fall. Both statements contain truth. The cynic's view: Hollywood fights. Not everyone believes results in these crossover events are entirely organic. Comedian Eddie Griffin voiced a common suspicion that some exhibitions are controlled entertainment, with both sides protecting their interests in exchange for a bigger back end. He pointed to the Mike Tyson exhibition with Roy Jones Jr. and suggested Tyson could have finished it if he wanted to. Griffin doesn't claim to know the specifics of Tank versus Jake, but he warns fans to be wary. If Jake Paul gets sparked in a minute, the money dies. If he lasts, the sequel is already sold. As he put it, most of y'all going to be suckers who tune in. It's a quick money grab. That's the cynic's take. It ignores the reality that commissions and insurers don't greenlight scripts. But it captures a feeling. Modern boxing has blurred the boundaries between sport and spectacle so thoroughly that many viewers no longer trust what they see. That is a danger for everyone. Fighters, promoters, networks. When trust is gone, even legitimate greatness looks suspect. So how does this fight end if it happens? Strip the narratives down and the fight itself, if sanctioned and made, is a 3-round dilemma. If Gervonta Davis chooses to break character, increase his punch output, and take risks early, he has the ability to slip Jake's jab, step into range, and land the kind of shot that ends nights. His precision is real. His timing is real. His ability to set a trap and spring it in a moment of inattention is unmatched in today's lightweight division. If Jake Paul survives the first 3 rounds, uses his reach, clinches smartly, and forces Tank to reload without giving up clean counters, the landscape shifts. The larger man tends to make his size felt as the rounds accumulate. He'll be walking Tank to the ropes, touching with the jab, forcing the smaller fighter to spend energy on angles and defense. Over 10 rounds, the risk of a flash moment, an awkward collision, a counter left hook, an accidental head clash, rises. Does that mean Jake can outbox Tank? No. It means the longer it goes, the more variables matter. This is why many analysts think 3 rounds is all Tank needs. If it's real, and if Tank is motivated, he can impose elite skill on a novice, regardless of size. He has only to be perfect once. Jake has to be perfect every second he is within range. But this is also why critics argue it should be an exhibition at a negotiated weight with clear guardrails. A sanctioned fight between a cruiser and a lightweight weakens the sport's standards. The future of boxing. Will fans pick craft over clicks? The Tank versus Jake debate is really a referendum on what we want boxing to be. Do we want the best to fight the best at or near their best weights? Do we want undisputed champions taking risks? Do we want young lions to be guided toward greatness, not gimmicks? Then we have to buy those fights. We have to show promoters that a Benavidez versus Morel matters as much as a crossover event. That a Shakur versus Tank unification is a Super Bowl unto itself. That a Terence Crawford masterclass can do numbers on its own momentum. If we don't, we'll get more of this. The balance will continue to tilt toward the sure thing. Celebrity, controversy, viral reach. Jake Paul didn't create that market. He capitalized on it. So did KSI. So did every crossover event that drew in casuals who wouldn't buy a normal card. The sport isn't dead. But it is at a crossroads. And fights like Tank Davis versus Jake Paul are signposts pointing to where the industry thinks the money is. What do you think? Should commissions sanction a Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul fight or require it to be an exhibition at a reasonable catchweight? Should Tank Davis focus on unifications and top-tier lightweights rather than crossover spectacles? And are you buying tonight's pay-per-view, or will you sit it out? Tell us where you're watching from and how you'd steer boxing back toward the fights you want. If you value reporting that weighs both sides, business and legacy, spectacle and sport, like, share, and subscribe. We'll monitor every development in the Gervonta Davis versus Jake Paul saga, break down matchups that truly matter, and keep the focus on the fighters who are pushing boxing forward.